Dell will replace hard drives under warranty with drives of similar or better specifications. Replacement drives may be larger or faster and may also be from a different manufacturer. Dell's replacement drives are certified to be compatible with Dell hardware. No. It is perfectly valid to use hard drives from different manufacturers. This includes model numbers, sizes, and rotational speeds. Using identical hard drives was never a requirement within RAID array since the initial concept of RAID. However, there are several factors that are likely contributors to the perpetuated myth that hard drives must be identical. The first is that from the perspective of creating a RAID array using hard drives, it doesn't make much practical sense to use dissimilar drives. For example, if you choose to combine a 500 gig drive with a 100 gig drive, you can only utilize a maximum of 100 gig of the 500 gig drive in the array, causing a net loss of 400 gig in space. Likewise, if you choose to use a 10K RPM drive and a 15K RPM drive, it will work, but you will lose the advantage of any faster drives. Given the likely cost difference between the larger and/or faster drives with no practical technology benefit, it makes little physical sense to design a RAID array in such a way, despite the fact there is no technological reason restricting such a design. From a hard drive replacement strategy perspective, replacing a 100 gig drive purchased in 2007 with a 500 gig drive purchased in 2010 is often the best choice. 100 gig hard drives are likely to have become more rare and could actually cost more than a 500 gig drive, despite the fact that the 500 gig drive may have superior specifications in size and speed. Since it will do no harm to use the larger and possibly faster drive, if this is the best cost-effective option, then this is the right choice. Secondly, at the time when RAID was invented, way back in 1988 and well into the 1990s, hard drive firmware was relatively immature. It was common to experience compatibility problems when using multiple hard drives. For example, using a hard drive A by itself works normally, and using hard drive B by itself works normally. But when hard drive A and hard drive B are used together, connected to the same controller, often many problems were encountered. This problem was so common that it became a best practice at the time to use identical drives, same manufacturer, same model number, and same lot number. Hard drive technology has matured to the point that such concerns are no longer applicable and haven't been applicable for about a decade. Given these examples, it's easy to see how this myth has been kept alive all these years and is still alive today. The simple answer is none. It is generally enforced that hard drives must use the same interface technology like SESI, SAS, or SATA. Additionally, it is also generally enforced that mechanical drives and non-mechanical drives cannot be mixed in the same array. While it is not technologically prohibited to mix SAS with SATA, or SATA with SSD, or SAS with SSD within an array, the potential for confusion regarding configurations and performance variables is significant, with little to no practical benefits. These facts cause most, if not all, manufacturers of enterprise RAID technologies to disallow such combinations. Inherent in RAID technology and design is the concept that hard drives will eventually fail and require replacement. Given the continual advancement of technologies, it is understood that identical hard drives may be difficult, expensive, or even impossible to acquire at the time a replacement is needed. RAID technology, since its original design, has never required identical drives. More specifically, every hard drive attached to a controller, RAID or otherwise, always operates completely independently of every other hard drive attached to that controller. A RAID controller logically combines physical drives into an array. However, From a hardware communication perspective, separate command lines are sent from the controller to each individual drive. Even hard drives that are identical, such as the manufacturer, model and specification, are not likely to operate at identical speeds at all times. Even when using drives of dramatically different speeds and sizes, RAID functionality continues normally without risk of data corruption or loss due to the differences in the drives. RAID controllers allocate space on hard drives into arrays, using the smallest drive in the array as the maximum size. For example, when creating a RAID 5 with 3 drives sized 500 gig, 200 gig and 100 gig, each drive will only have a maximum of 100 gig allocated towards the array. Any excess space on the larger drives is not useful within that array and may or may not be available to use in other arrays. Likewise, a RAID 5 array created with 3 500 gig drives would be able to use 500 gig from each drive. But if you had to replace one with a larger drive, for example a 2 terabit, only 500 gig would be allocated to that array during the rebuild, and any additional space would be unusable within the array. To sum up, you cannot replace a hard drive when its capacity is lower than the array's allocated space. Adding a drive that is slower may adversely affect the performance of the array. And finally, don't combine SAS, SATA and SSD drives because they use a different interface specification. I hope this has been useful. For more information on this topic, check out the links in the description below, and check out the links at the end of the video for more information on other topics. Thanks for watching.